Hello, I'm Tony Guida. This is My New York. And to quote Monty Python, now for something completely different, a show with no guests. Actually, many guests who've been here before. Here's a sample. I am so delighted to welcome to our program Charles Osgood. Good to see you.
It's good to see you, Tony.
Gail Collins, who many hold to be the brilliant Boswell of our politics and culture. Others from red states call her a slack-jawed, drooling moron. You decide when you meet her next. West Side Story stunned theatergoers, and it catapulted a Broadway gypsy to stardom. Chita Rivera, luminescent, effervescent, naughty, eternal. Chita Rivera and her West Side Story next. Tom Brokaw, delighted to see you. Welcome.
Great to see you again, Tony.
My guest today is a Harlem kid who made good, very good, in a life illuminated by enormous talent and clouded by a penchant for self-destruction.
I'm colored, Jewish, and Puerto Rican. When I move into a neighborhood, I wipe it out.
Mr. Bojangles.
Sammy Davis Jr., singer, actor, dancer, impressionist, the target both of white bigotry and rejection by the black community. Sammy is very much present with us today because of a brilliant new documentary called Sammy Davis Jr., I've Gotta Be Me. Emmy and Peabody Award winner Sam Pollard directed the film. You will meet him, and through him, a Sammy Davis Jr. you did not know. Next. Gay Talese is here today to talk about one of the most famous pieces of magazine journalism ever written, his profile of Frank Sinatra called Frank Sinatra Has a Cold. Esquire magazine published it in 1966. The piece has been studied and celebrated ever since. Gay, are you surprised that 50 years on, we are talking about and celebrating a magazine piece you really didn't even want to write?
No, it was an assignment that I had to deliver because the editor wanted it.
How delighted I am to welcome Mimi Sheridan to our program. Happy birthday.
Well, thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here. Not sure that the birthday count is accurate. It's a little incredible to me, but I'm grateful.
Appalling is the word for today. The appalling story of a shameful episode in the history of this city and this nation. It is told in this book, Spectacle, The Astonishing Life of Ota Benga. The book was written by Pamela Newkirk, a professor of journalism at NYU, and she is here to tell us this heartbreaking tale. If you've had trouble breathing lately, it may be because the air is polluted with xenophobia. Almost every day, we hear one presidential candidate or another spew vile comments about Muslims, Mexicans, Syrians who are fleeing the carnage in their country. Maybe history can remind us why racism never ennobles. In 1942, this country forced Japanese Americans out of their homes into concentration camps. Madeline Sugimoto was one of them. She was 5 years old. Her story and its lessons next. Canaletta, how delightful to see you. Welcome.
Nice, Tony.
We celebrate the 25th anniversary of a classic New York movie.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Hey, Mom, what do you think?
You look like a gangster.
I know I do.
By the time I grew up, there was $30 billion a year in cargo moving through Idlewild Airport. Believe me, we tried to steal every bit of it.
And they damn near succeeded. The movie, of course, is Goodfellas. It's the result of a book and screenplay by legendary crime reporter Nick Pileggi. Our guest today, you will meet him next. That was the teaser. More to come, as they say, after this word. The show is closing. CUNY is turning this place into a pizza joint, and I'm headed for the highway. But before I go, let's have some fun. Let's ramble through some of my favorite moments hosting this show. I'm going to start with the Bard of New York, Pete Hamill. At his home 7 years ago, Pete told me about his boyhood dream. It had nothing to do with writing. He wanted to be a comic book artist.
I went to the School of Visual Arts and to Pratt Institute. And when I went to Mexico, which I did first, I went to study painting. The major in painting on the GI Bill.
Why
And
Mexico?
I wanted to go to Paris because I loved the story of Babar, you know, where this poor elephant's mother gets shot and he wanders off and ends up in Paris. But I couldn't afford it. And I had some really good teachers of painting there. But I got more and more interested in writing because of what had imprinted itself in my skull was the narrative comic strips. A panel said, this happens, and as a result, this happens, something big. So I couldn't figure out how to, in a painting, make that happen. But by the time I began to pick up greater skill with the drawing, I was less interested. I was more interested in the story, in the tale, in the people. And I was lucky because I had that. You know, in other words, I didn't walk around after I dropped out of high school and say, schmucko, you ruined your life. You know, there was another thing around the corner, you know, that I could do.
Right.
The library in Brooklyn helped to feed it. It was the treasure house of all the great stuff in history. Because I wanted to be the best version of me I could make. That I wouldn't satisfy myself with the cheap shot, with the, you know, remarks instead of literature. I thought that in life you could love Gustav Mahler and Dean Martin in the same lifetime. You could admire certain low-life comics and Voltaire.
Pete wrote columns, essays, books, all filled with passion and wit. You can see why he admired Voltaire's style. One more clip from Pete, a delightful anecdote from when he was a cub reporter at the Post, struggling to write a story.
I remember Paul Sand, my editor, one point, I was at the paper about 2 years then, and I'm typing one day, and I'm typing. He walked over and he said, if you should die before you finish writing that, make sure there's nothing in it that you're thoroughly ashamed of. And kept walking. But that's what they were like.
Sure.
You know?
What a lesson. Let's bring on another giant of journalism, Betsy Wade. Betsy was the first woman to edit copy at the New York Times. She was also a lifetime crusader for women's rights. Betsy distinguished herself on the copy desk in 1971 when the Times asked her to work on a dangerous, top-secret assignment. The Pentagon Papers. You were involved in editing those for publication in the newspaper. What was that like?
Like nothing on earth I had ever seen before, or probably would ever see again. The history of the Vietnam War was removed from the RAND Corporation files to be put in the hands of a couple of reporters at the New York Times. These were stolen papers. Mm-hmm. They came to me and they said, we have a project we're working on and we wonder if you want to work on it. It's called Project X, so we can't tell you what it is, and you can't tell anybody else about it, and you might go to jail.
You might go to jail.
Yes.
And Project X, as the Times was calling it, wasn't going to be conducted on the old building on 43rd Street. They sequestered
No,
you
it
guys
was
in a hotel? Or?
What they did indeed, when they finally got all of these suitcases full of, I want you to understand, until you've seen this thing, you cannot imagine. The pages had no numbers, but they had carried all of this to a hotel room in the Hilton Hotel. And then it was 6 hotel rooms. And there were filing cabinets. And as I say, this was something that was just completely illegal. They weren't going to let any strangers into that room at all. So it was an incredible piece of work to try to sort out which papers belong to what and where to begin to tell the story.
Betsy always knew how to tell the story. She was also wicked good with a yarn, like this one from her early career at a newspaper syndication service with a famously cantankerous colleague.
Jimmy Breslin and I were both young folks there. We were not only young folks, but we were young parents. We both had
the legendary
babies
Mr. Breslin, yes.
Well, we can call him legendary. I always thought he was a great deal of fun, but he was a little difficult to get along with.
Yes, and you have a wonderful story about that.
He can be peevish, but he's a wonderful writer.
Oh.
And someplace it is writ, for him who writes beautifully, much forgiveness. And he had noticed that I sat at my desk with my shoes off while I was working and concentrating. And one day he came and he got my shoes and he heaved them out the 16th floor window
Really?
of 461 8th Avenue straight down. And I thought, well, you know, how do we cope with this? And I decided that appealing to the management was not going to help.
No.
So I took the elevator down and I got my shoes out of the street and I went across the street to where Jimmy had gone to have lunch at Smith's Bar and Grill. And I said, now, Mr. Breslin, will you put them back on again?
The coda to the story is
Great coda to the story.
Yes, please.
Gay Talese, who was also a sports writer, but he was a sports writer at the New York Times, came into me later when I was working at the New York Times city copy desk, and he said, guy across the street at Goff's Bar wants to speak to you. And I said, okay, Gay, and we took the elevator down and went across the street, and there was Jimmy Breslin sitting in the bar. And he looked up, and Gay said, Jimmy, I want you to meet. And he says, you don't have to introduce me to her. That's Betsy Wade. She is one tough broad. And I said, all right.
The tough broad logged 45 years with the Times. After retiring, she taught classes in journalism and public policy at Hunter College. Let's jump to Broadway now. West Side Story. When the 60th anniversary of its opening came up a few years ago, the theater world celebrated. And I called the gypsy that West Side Story catapulted to stardom, Chita Rivera. What is a gypsy?
Well, you're looking at one.
Yes, one of the greats.
A gypsy is a dancer that is completely aware of the family that the dancing group really is. She starts with that group. Years ago it was 8 girls, 8 boys, and you're in that line, that chorus line. And that line is really important because it teaches you to be very much aware of other people other than yourself, of symmetry, of how to move and how to assist and to be a part of a group.
As I understand it, it's perhaps the highest accolade can be given to a dancer.
It is,
gypsy.
Absolutely. And you really carry that for your entire career, at least I have.
Well,
because everything that I've done, Tony, I felt, every award that I've been blessed enough to have, I feel as though I've got my buddies on my shoulders.
How did you get hired?
I had about 2 or 3 auditions with Jerry at first, and then we had to sing, which of course was the most frightening thing in the world.
Jerome Robbins, you're talking about.
Jerome Robbins, absolutely. And then I sang My Man's Gone Now from Porgy and Bess in front of Leonard Bernstein.
That's a tough
in
song.
a bass. Oh, did I know? Thank God I don't know half the things I do.
As Anita in West Side, you sing America, and you sing what?
A Boy Like That, yes. But Lenny taught me that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I went up to Lenny's apartment at the Osborne.
That's a tough song to sing for an audition.
Oh, yeah, what did I know? Thank God I didn't know. I mean, I auditioned for Mr. Balanchine for New York City Ballet, and I didn't know it was Mr. Balanchine, so, you know, I got through it.
And when they finally said you have the job, what did they say? I mean, you...
Well, they let us know. They let us know that we had the job. I remember there was a bar at the corner of 50th and 6th Avenue. It used to be attached to the Winter Garden Theater. And Carol Lawrence, Larry Kurt, and myself went down to that bar, and we had a drink, and we laughed, and we could not believe that we were in this, we had been hired for this show that everybody was talking about.
Let's look at the fact that the music is by a guy named Bernstein. The lyrics are by a guy named Sondheim. The choreography you mentioned, Jerome Robbins. The book, Arthur Lawrence. And all of this inspired by a fellow named Shakespeare. and you guys are turning this into, well, it's Romeo and Juliet with Gang Warfare.
That's right.
You're the girlfriend of the leader of the Sharks.
That's right. That's right. And of course, Jerry, you know, Jerry had told us we weren't to speak to either gang.
Oh,
we were separated completely. So what did I do? I married one. I have a daughter who is half shark and half jet.
Well, that's terrific. Yeah, it's good you didn't listen to Joe.
Yeah, it is good.
Chita Rivera. You know what else is good? The day the distinguished filmmaker Sam Pollard walked into this studio carrying his latest creation, a documentary about Sammy Davis Jr., a brilliant film illuminating the troubling conflicts behind Sammy's enormous talent.
You know, when I was 16 years old, I had read his first autobiography, Yes, I Can, and I was like fascinated by him, you know, the struggles he had as a black man in America, as an entertainer, you know, marrying a white woman, My Brit, and all the brickbats he got from both white people who didn't like the fact that he was integrating in this society during that period, and from black people who felt he had forgot where he came from as a black man.
Very complicated, man, very complicated story. And it seems to me, you know, if you look at the title of the documentary, Sammy Davis Jr., I've Gotta Be Me, one of his very famous songs, I think about that, I've Gotta Be Me. There were 4 or 5 me's in Sammy Davis Jr., and I wonder if he even knew who he gotta be.
I think it was interesting. The thing that's interesting about Sammy is that as he was evolving as both a man, as a black man, as an entertainer, he was struggling with this notion of identity, something that I'm familiar with as an African-American man growing up in America in the 20th century, watching the television screen and seeing people like Humphrey Bogart and Kirk Douglas and Burt Lancaster, and not seeing people who look like me most of the time, except for initially Sidney Poitier. So he was struggling with that notion of identity. And think about it this way too, Tony. He was a performer. He was someone who had been on the stage since the age of 3, and he loved he needed audience's attention. You know, he wanted to be, you know, engaged by the audience.
He wanted to be loved, like many entertainers.
He wanted to be loved. So this is what, you know, he's out there always trying to find out, why should you love me? This is what I can give you so you can love me.
Your film, which is really wonderful, reminds me, and you need to be jogged about this with Sammy Davis Jr., because there are so many different impressions here, but just the raw, enormous talent that he had to do everything. I mean, early in the film, you've got him at 7 years old, dancing and tap dancing in a movie, a Hollywood movie. I mean, he's at 7, he owns that stage.
He's fantastic. You know, he's one of these performers who could see something and just absorb it. You see him imitate Jerry Lewis, and he's Jerry Lewis. You see him perform these impressions of Cagney and Jimmy Stewart and Edward G. Robinson. He's those guys. He hangs out with Buddy Rich, Gene Krupa, and Mickey Rooney, who also played drums, and he could play drums as well as Buddy Rich. He could pick up a bass, he could pick up a trumpet. This guy was simply a sponge. He was just such a smart talent.
There's a Latin word I remember from high school, ingenium. It means natural inbred ability.
He had it.
And he had it. Let's go back to these obstacles that he faced, and there's a clip from the film that I want to show that helps illustrate this.
His gift was his talent. The curse was being black in America.
It's no fun to walk into a place you're going to play and be told that we've had 14 bomb threats.
Even if you win, you don't win.
What did he mean by it? Even if you win, you don't win.
He's telling his story at that particular point when he was in the Army. And just think about this. For most of his early life, until he was 18 years old, he was pretty sheltered. You know, he was sheltered by his uncle, he was sheltered by his dad, he was sheltered by all the other performers, black and white, that he met on the road. Here he joins the Army at 18, and all of a sudden, he has to face overt segregation. This line comes from him telling a story about how he was on the chow line, and the white man says, "You can't stand in front of me." And Sammy turns and knocks the guy down, breaks the guy's nose. The guy looks up at Sammy and says, "You may have beaten me, but you're still a." And so Sammy realized that his fists were not going to be the way he's going to accomplish things and change people's hearts and minds. To me, it makes him just a fascinating human being. I like to make films about human beings who are complicated, and that's what I come away with, dealing with a man who's very complicated.
Well, your passion for what you do is infectious, and it almost makes me want to sign up for one of your classes at NYU. So if I happen to walk in the door one day, don't throw me out.
You're welcome.
All right. Sam Pollard, it's great to have you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Be good.
Sam's latest films dropped just last month. A portrait of NBA legend and civil rights icon Bill Russell, that's on Netflix, and Lowndes County and the Road to Black Power on Peacock. Now, here's another film that will surprise and delight you. This is 821 6th Avenue near 29th Street. Its humdrum exterior belies the exceptional history that happened here. 821 6th in the 1950s was a jazz loft, a sanctum where musicians could jam, making music for their own pleasure, no audience invited. Thelonious Monk played here, so did Zoot Sims and Chick Corea, and hundreds of lesser-known sidemen. We know this because esteemed photojournalist W. Eugene Smith recorded everything that happened here for 8 years on film and audio tape. Smith's prodigious output is the subject of a documentary, The Jazz Loft, written and directed by Sarah Fishko of WNYC.
Gene Smith was at the absolute top of the world of photojournalism.
There's a photo in your film of him with Robert Capa and Edward Steichen.
Yeah. Yes,
so
he was
he was on that level.
He was right up there.
Let's look at a section of Sarah's remarkable film about Gene Smith at the loft, just photographing jazz musicians and recording them.
He was like a mad scientist. He'd have this big old desk and there would be pictures and negatives and tapes.
Prints, layouts, dummies. I mean, the loft was packed with stuff. At the same time, he's doing the jazz things. He's shooting out the window. This man worked and worked and worked and worked and worked.
Just extraordinary. Worked and worked and worked. How much work? How much did we find?
Discovered in the Smith archive were 4,000 hours of audio tape that he recorded.
4,000 hours.
As well as 45,000 exposed negatives in the loft over the years. So, you know, it's a lot of, it's as I say, the excess is just the obsession.
But there's a segment late in Sarah's film of Thelonious Monk at the Loft, who spent 3 weeks there in 58 or 59, rehearsing his band, 10-piece band.
Well, they were planning for a concert, the Thelonious Monk Big Band concert at Town Hall, which is a famous kind of jazz document. And they needed somebody to work with Monk on making these arrangements, and that's what they were doing in the Loft. And they turned to this other remarkable fellow, one of many who were at the Loft, Hall Overton. Now, Overton was an instructor at Juilliard.
Of classical music.
Of classical music. But at the same time, he was a cool cat.
Is that what you want, or do you want to hear bom body dom? There's two different ways.
That's a 16th note.
So there's two ways that you can hear that line, the way you're playing it. Or
they talk through the piano. Their pianos talk. That was amazing to see them speak the language of music.
yeah. It's a short note.
And Paul was writing away.
Well, Hall had the training to really notate accurately. So when Monk and he were together, Monk would sit down and say, blam. He would hold down his fingers on the piano for that chord until Hall could write down every single note that Monk was playing.
There's an empty major. There's an empty major after that. Fill out.
Yeah, that's just empty.
This is held only one beat then, the way you sang it.
Here's Monk teaching him how to play his music, like an exacting teacher.
Wow. That clip should be in the Smithsonian. Sarah's film is available on Amazon. Do yourself a favor, watch it. So I said at the top of this program, I'm heading for the highway soon, but I didn't tell you it's going to be a long goodbye. Next week, more highlights from my chats, including Charles Osgood and Gay Talese. And after that, surprises. So don't touch that dial. See you next week.